There is a marvelous little book that was recommended to me one time entitled 10 Poems to Change Your Life. And as I opened it, this book with this consolidation of poems that was consolidated by a man by the name of Housden, and I would recommend the book, the very first poem was the one that hit me right between the eyes. She became my favorite poet, died just recently, and her life lives on in some of this marvelous poetry. Every once in a while you see a poem that is kind of describing your own life, and there you are. So this from Mary Oliver, called The Journey. I've abbreviated it a little bit, but not taking away from her main point. One day, you finally knew what you had to do, and you began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. And you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. It was already late enough and a wild night and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. I remember a young man who grew up in the state of Idaho, who thought that he had kind of an inner sense that he ought to go into the ministry. And so in his English class in the 8th grade, his English teacher, who didn't necessarily like him, but also did not encourage him, there was one time that he said to his English teacher that he did not care what an intransitive complete was. That kind of ruined the class eternally for him. And so as he was going off to high school, he needed her recommendation for a speech class because he felt inside he wanted to speak, and in this case, speak for God. And he came to her and she said, I would not recommend you to that place, to that class, because you will never be a speaker. You don't know how to use the English language. And he went away with his head hanging, but it wasn't until later that indeed he found his own voice and used it. And he became the best speechwriter in the state of Idaho after graduation, and giving himself to that voice that he knew was inside that needed to get out. Here's the big deal that I've told many young people in my lifetime in the course of ministry. Listen to that voice inside and never, ever allow anyone to talk you out of what you need to do, say, and be in this world. Most likely that inner voice indeed is the voice of God. May God bless us in our encouragement of one another and of helping each other to listen to the voice inside. Amen.